This is the continuation of Human Development Language PowerPoint. Now we're going to move on to using sentences and grammar. First point, combination of words into simple sentences at around 15 to 24 months, i.e. Baba please, or no, Baba please. Next point, this word stage is characterized by telegraphic speech. Simple noun and verb combinations used to communicate an idea. Like, instead of saying I want juice, they will say want juice. Instead of saying kitty jump, they'll say kitty jump. You know what I mean? Okay. So next point, child has varied vocabulary and basic understanding of word order. So he has varied vocabulary and basic understanding of word order. Next point, child has learned the universal function of language, expression of thoughts. Next point, at all ages, receptive language or comprehension is ahead of productive or expressive speech. Okay, now to the next slide. Using sentences and grammar. After 2 years of age, a child's vocabulary expands dramatically and is accompanied by more mastery of more complex grammatical structures. So first point, more complex grammatical give rise to over-regularization. I think I pronounced that word, over-regularization, in which the basic rules of grammar are overused and somewhat rigid. Example, I bringed my Barbie, or my feet are cold. So the grammatical mistakes are I bring. You should say I bring my Barbie, or my feet are cold, not my feet are cold. So that mistake is called over-regularization. So next point, by 5 years, children are using more sophisticated grammar and producing adult-like sentence structures. Okay, the next point. Okay, now we're going to move on to theories of language learning. Is language learned through the mechanics of imitation and reinforcement, or the humans biologically predisposed to learn language? So is language learned through the mechanics of imitation and reinforcement, or are humans biologically predisposed to learn language? So basically we need to learn 3 theories. The 3 theories are, number 1, B.F. Skinner, learning perspective, nurture, infants are directly taught. Number 2, Noam Chomsky, nativist perspective, so nature, infants teach themselves. Then number 3, the interactionist perspective, both nature and nurture affect language development. Okay, now we're going to talk about these 3 theories. So the first theory is, okay, theories in language development. Okay, so learning theory environment, B.F. Skinner, learn through operant conditioning, reinforcement, and imitation. So what they're saying is you learn from your environment. Simple. Nativist biology, Noam Chomsky. Humans are biologically predisposed to learning language. Inborn acquisition, LAD, L-A-D, biologically prepares infants to learn rules of language. Third theory, interactionist. Intercapacities and environment work together. Social context is important. Okay, so now let's talk about theory 1. Learning perspective, infants are taught. Okay, emphasizes the rule of environment. So the Skinner theory is more to do with the environment. Let's remember that. Okay, B.F. Skinner. First is acquire language through operant conditioning, particularly shaping, selectively reinforcing certain behaviors while ignoring others. Example, dada, not gaga. Second point, reinforce language learning through grammatical speech. The quantity and quality of talking to child affect rate of language development. So again, this is to do with the environment. The more you talk to your child, the more, the smarter he's going to be. Next point, imitation and modeling are important. So role models, etc. The better you speak English, the better your child will. So example, child says, while looking at the mother. The mother responds, "Mommy, that's right." Do you get that? So example, child says, while looking at the mother. The mother may respond, "Mommy, that's right." So imitation and modeling. So the child, will imitate what the mother has said. Okay, next PowerPoint. So theory 2, infants teach themselves. So this is Noam Chomsky. So LAD, we need to remember this, language acquisition device, LAD. Children are pre-wired for language, including annotations and structure of language. So what they're saying is we're hardwired like computers to learn language automatically. That's what I'm getting from this. So point 1, research support for theory 2 is babies are eager learners, genetic programming, categorization. So next PowerPoint. So theory 2 again, nativist perspective, Noam Chomsky, nativist perspective. Point 1, effort to explain how language forms without formal training. Next one, humans are biologically primed to acquire language. So what they're kind of saying is God made us this way. God made, like when you're a baby, to biologically to interpret language automatically. So third point, humans are born with LAD, language acquisition device. Children are pre-wired for language, including annotations and language structure. So what he's basically saying, we're born with this. Simple as I can put it. So LAD contains LAD, language acquisition device, contains a universal grammar, a knowledge of rules common to all languages, which allow children with sufficient vocabulary to create new combinations of words they may never had heard before. Okay, moving on to the next PowerPoint. Still again with theory 2. Are the physical structures that are specialized for language? Are there physical structures that are specialized for language? What does this mean? I don't know. Let's see. Human mouth and throat is specifically suited for producing the complex sounds of language. Other species are not capable of producing these sounds. Okay. We'll kind of get it. Next point. Specific areas in the human brain specialize in processing linguistic information. Again, this theory, the way I've learned this is our God-given right. God has installed this in us. This is his theory that we learn language this way. Okay, now next PowerPoint. Let me see, did I cover everything on the last one? Okay, so contributions of the nativist perspective. Point 1, humans are biologically predisposed, widely accepted by experts. Point 2, babies are eager learners. Next point, limitations. What are the limitations of this theory? So the limitations are, there does not appear to be one single area that is LAD, as Chomsky proposed. Instead, the LAD may be thought as several interconnected brain areas. So in your brain, imagine certain points in the brain, they're all connected. So application, language, Genie. Okay, now this is a story that I'm going to read to you. Genie became a test case for the nativist debate on language development. Genie was a 13-year-old girl who experienced almost total isolation during childhood. She was barely able to walk or talk when discovered by a social worker in Los Angeles, California on November 4th, 1970. Reportedly, she was kept tied to a potty chair for most of her life and beaten for making noise. Consequently, she'd learn not to vocalize. So the next PowerPoint. As noted by Susan Curtis, if you look at a sentence that she would utter, she wouldn't be grammatical. So she might say things like spot chew glove or applesauce by store, where the message was not clear. What she really meant was, you know, the dog named Spot chewed the glove, or we need applesauce. We need to buy applesauce at the store. In both cases, you can see that they are not sentences of English. We wouldn't say applesauce by store, or we wouldn't say we need to buy applesauce at the store, or applesauce is what we want from the store, or something in that actual sense of English. Okay, questions of discussions. You guys can read this yourself. I don't need to go into this. Okay, the third perspective, theory 3, interactionist perspective. Okay, so dissatisfaction with purely learning and purely biological views led researchers to consider how multiple factors interact to produce language development. This one I kind of agree with. Okay, so theory 3, interactionist perspective. Cognitive approach. Language depends on cognition. As Piaget believed, so point 1, Piaget believed that cognitive development is a necessary prerequisite for normal language development. Point 2, only when children develop cognitively to the point at which they need symbols to represent things, they have reason to use words and develop language. Point 3, cognitive skills interact with environmental demands and language experience to produce mature language skills. Okay, this is the last slide. Still staying on theory 3. Social interactionist theory. Point 1, it's based on information processing theory. Point 2, language is a result of complex interaction between the child's biological predispositions and social interactions. So the next point is interaction of biological heritage and environment. So what this deals with, point 1 of interaction of biological heritage environment, emphasizes initiate abilities and environmental influences to produce language. So abilities and environmental influences to produce languages. Point 2 acknowledges the important roles of nature and nurture. So in a way, this third theory combines the first two theories. Okay, so the third point is social, pragmatic, practical reason for language is communication. Okay, this is the end of language development. Thank you.